Hello, I'm AVX Toycat, and welcome back to a second channel video. Today, before we say anything else, let me just start by saying, when I say Toycat or Toycat at the start of the video, it really makes no difference. It's just whatever I feel like saying. There's no right or wrong one. There's no, haha, you said Toycat. It's just second channel, don't care. We all know I'm Toycat. I am the same person, regardless of what I say. So, can we get that out of the way? Yeah, that's out of the way. Anyway, today I wanted to tell a personal story. The sort of one I'd usually tell on the main channel, you know, with the vlog and the hands and stuff, but I figured this one is probably a little bit inappropriate for there, for a few reasons, even though I really want to tell it, because it involves drinking, it involves, you know, women and dating and clubs and stuff like that. I figured, you know, it might be too inappropriate, but let's make it a nice second channel exclusive, because I do want to get it just out of my head, because it's been running through my mind more recently, and I figured, yeah, let's tell it out there. So, I'm going to be telling you the story of the absolute worst date I ever went on. Part of the bad was just me being awful and me being, I guess, a bad person, but some of it was her fault too, and just in general, I think it's just like, yeah, I don't think I can ever top that as far as worst date ever, so this is the worst date I will probably ever go on. So hopefully you do all enjoy it, and you enjoy my misery, and that sort of stuff, but let's get straight into it. So let me give the backstory of this girl that I'm going on the date with, because this is the third date we've been on. The first date, we didn't really amazingly click, but she seems kind of into me, and like, you know, she's willing to, like, put in the effort and stuff, and that's something I've always kind of, I like it when people like me, and when they're willing to go through effort, you know, to show that, and I'm like, you know, let's give this another try then, and we go on a second date. By the way, she doesn't live near me, she's, like, somewhat long distance, so we meet somewhere between us, which is, like, roughly near Nottingham, and, yeah, we go on a date there, and, even though it wasn't the most amazing of dates, it was pretty bad, actually. Again, she's willing to roll the punches, and she's not, like, complaining about the whole thing, and it's just kind of good in that way. So, yeah, second date, at best. I felt like it was going for a, you know, a big spiral, but then we kind of came back at the end, and then she's like, oh, by the way, I'm having a university party in a week, do you want to come along? You know, she was really nervous about asking, and I'm like, you know what? I can't say no to this, because she's gone through so much effort to ask, and if you're on the second date saying you don't really want to do something again, comes across the wrong way. So even though I know it's a bad idea to go on a party with people, or go to a party with people I really don't know, besides this one person I barely know, I figure, yeah, let's do it. So I agreed to bring along a friend, just so I at least have someone to talk to, and we have like a group assault on this thing. And the next week, I go to this party. So this party is the third date. I don't know if you count it as a date, but it's at the very least one of the worst things I've ever interacted with when it comes to people, because again, I don't know anyone there, and it's a 2-hour journey, and I can't come back that night. But again, I've agreed to do this. I'm willing to put in some effort and make this happen. So I take the 2-hour train journey, and I ring my friend on the way, like, okay, you gonna be there? No response. I Facebook message him, nothing happens. I figure, you know, he'll just be there. He said he'll be there at this time. It'll be fine. I'll get off the station, he'll just be there, he'll phone his bid or something. But I get off the train 2 hours later, and he's not there. So I give him a final call. This time he does pick up, and he's like, oh, sorry, forgot about that. And I was like, oh, okay then, no friend. So bear in mind it's 2 hours back, and this is my last opportunity. There's no, like, spend some time there, then leave. It's like, I have to do this, and I have to fully commit to something that I know is a bad idea, but I do it. So, yeah, to get to the university that she had her pool at, and, you know, from the train station, it was about a half an hour journey, and it was uphill. So it's like, okay, this is a real uphill journey, if you will. And again, even though I know this is a bad idea, I decide to stick to it. I go to a Tesco at the bottom of the hill. I buy myself some alcohol, because it's a student party, you need to do that. There was a really poorly stocked Tesco, that's a grocery store in the UK, because they didn't have energy drink to make Jaeger bombs, of course. So I bought some Lucozade or something, just, you know, as a close replacement. And then whenever I spend money on alcohol, because a bottle of Jaeger, like even that big, is like 15 or 20 pounds or something, I always feel like, that's a lot of money to spend on something I don't really even want. So I buy something nice along with it, like whether that's like, I don't know, a bag of Skittles or something, you know, just something that's like, that was kind of nice too. And in this case, they didn't really have anything that was good at all, but except because it's Christmas time. Again, this is like late December last year, I should clarify. It's like December the 18th when this party is being held. Because it's December time, they're selling a lot of smoked salmon. I have a big love of smoked salmon, I'll clarify, and even though it's a bad idea to eat that anywhere near public, I didn't really think that at the time. I'm like, yeah, I'll eat some salmon on the way. So yeah, I've got like my alcohol, my energy drink in one hand, my salmon in the other, and I'm eating it as I go up this crazy steep hill. Like, I have no idea why their town, or it might be a city, is so like steeply hilled, but it is, and I'm like, ugh, slowly climbing this thing, eating the salmon, and then I realize as I finish the salmon, like I just eat the whole tray really in one giant mouthful, well, not one giant mouthful, but mostly like that, I realize my hand stinks horribly of salmon, and then it sinks in. Salmon has a deep smell to it. How did I not realize that? And I'm like, oh, okay, so I did something weird, and it's now going to have repercussions. I need to fix this, because my breath's going to smell way worse than my hand, right? So yeah, I think like, okay, let's grab a mint, don't have a mint. And I'm like, okay, we'll need to go to the nearest grocery store. Do not find one on the way. There's only one at the bottom of the hill. I guess everyone has to walk down the hill. Not even any, like, convenience stores. Nothing. I'd be willing to do anything at this point. And it's like, okay, I stink like salmon. My hand stinks like salmon. And I'm about to go meet some people for the first time. This is a no-go. So the closest thing I have is like, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just, drink a lot of Lucozade, and I'm going to try to keep my hand hidden, and that's going to cover it. So I drink a bunch of the Lucozade I have with me, and what ends up happening is I just end up throwing up because I've drank too much Lucozade. But I know my body just doesn't like the mix of salmon and Lucozade, so I throw up, and then I realize, okay, well now I stink like throw up and salmon. Okay, this is getting worse, and this is the point where I'm like, I should just run away now. This is bad, but I decide to stick with it. I'm just like, okay, she probably has a bathroom, or student doors have someone. I'm just gonna find an excuse to rush there, get this fixed as soon as possible. And yeah, I eventually make it to the uni after a lot of like, I'm over here, I'm over here, I'm over here. You're not over there. I'm over here. It took like 20 minutes once I got into the uni to actually find her apartment building. But yeah, I get there, and she looks lovely. And, like, she's, all nice and stuff. And she's like, hey, and, it's all friendly. And I think, like, okay, this is going good again. I'm genuinely impressed by the way she looks, and I'm impressed by the fact that we're all happy and she actually seems friendly. Okay, we're on track again. Let's go into the party. So the first thing I do is make an excuse to go to the bathroom. But first, like, I'm running some people that insist on shaking hands. So I'm like, oh, yeah, let's do that. And then... you know how that's going to go. But I rush to the bathroom as fast as I can, fix my problem, use whatever toothpaste is there. It's better to use someone else's toothpaste than to stink like salmon and throw up. And we're all good again. We're on track. Okay, the date's going well again. So then, the thing that gets concerning here is, so, again, these are like 10 people I don't know, and the one date who I kind of know. So yeah, we go into there, and I try to make, like the 3 guys, so... Just to clarify, there's so many details I need to tell, but, like, this is a mostly girls' university. It's for, like, childcare. I don't know what it's actually for, but it's for some very woman-heavy subject. So it's, like, 70% women to 30% guys. So the guys that are there, there's, like, 3 of them, and they just sit in the corner and, like, say something to them, they're like... They just don't respond. It's like, okay, well, I guess we're not going to be talking with them tonight. But yeah, so instead it's just, myself and like 6 other women in like a circle talking. And it's like, this is a strange party to be at. And the one thing that gets me really concerned is the fact that my date, who I am sitting next to, is drinking an absurd amount of vodka. So she's got a really cheap bottle of like, like the pocket bottles of like alcohol. She's got one of those and she's chugging it at a really alarming rate. And I'm like... you sure you want to do that? And she's like, oh yeah, it's really good. Do you want to try some? And it's like some of the worst vodka I'd ever like smell. And I'm like, I'll be fine. Thank you for the offer though. Maybe slow down a tiny bit. And she's like, oh no, it'll be fine. And I'm like, okay then. She knows her alcohol. Maybe she's like amazing in it because I don't know. I just assume she knows what she's doing because she has drank it before. I assume. Even though she's 18 or something, so maybe not. But yeah, so she's drinking her bottle of vodka at an alarming rate, and everything seems to be going well. I'm meeting with friends. We're like clicking to some extent, like, oh, you do that. Oh, I kind of do something like that because I'm really vague with what I do. And yeah, it's all going well until what starts to happen is, I start to like pour out my drink, like, oh, I've got some Jaeger and here's some Jaeger bombs, and then the alcohol thing gets even worse. Because bear in mind, she finishes her bottle, and then we're all just kind of like chilling, and she's like, okay, we'll just take a break from the alcohol. One of her friends goes like that, and then, like I pour a Jaeger bomb for myself. She's like, oh, let me try the Jaeger. So I figure she wants a Jaeger bomb, and she's like, oh no, I'll just have the bowl, and she starts chugging that like, oh, that is quite nice. And not only is that almost a rude thing, I don't care. Because it's like a bottle of Jaeger I'm not going to have at the end of the night. But it's like, oh yeah, so she's just chugging that, and this isn't going to have good results. And sure enough, within like 20 minutes, she just randomly starts crying and like runs out, and then one of the other girls follows with her. And then so I start having to speak to these 3 women I have the very littlest of relations to, and it's like, not relations, but you get the point. And it's like, oh yeah, so I hear you're her boyfriend and this and that. And it's like, we've met twice, but I guess you could call me that. So it turns out she's called me her boyfriend to all these people. Again, we've met twice before and ever. And it's like, okay, roll the punches. I need to use the bathroom all of a sudden when they're doing that. And she's like, oh, no, it's fine. And basically, things get awkward, things get bad. And she's like drunk out of her, like she's drunk as, heck. But she's trying to fix it and she's trying to be okay. And she's like, I'm sorry. I'm like, it's cool. We good? Because, like, her friend leaves and, like, leaves me to try and comfort her. It's like, I don't know this person. I don't know how to comfort them. But I try to make it work. Because, again, I like to try and be the problem solver here. Let's try and make a thing happen. And yeah, she seems roughly fine. I use the bathroom when I go back out. She seems like she's just on time. So then after that, they're like, oh, it's been like, you know, it's been some time, but like at midnight, we're like, okay, well, let's go out into town, because that's what people do. They drink in their places, and then they head into like the city part, and you know, that's everywhere, right? So yeah, when this happens, you know, again, I think everything's on track again. Like, there's been another big crisis that I've just had to avert, but even though she's a bit drunk, you know, it's happy, it's been fixed, and it seems like, oh yeah, we're all gonna be good again. So we decide to, you know, get the taxi stuff or whatever. Taxi? I said like taxes, didn't I? But yeah, we decide to, you know, get that stuff ordered, and again, I have no idea what's going on here. I'm just going with the flow. I didn't predict that, but I'm like, I guess that does make sense. So yeah, again, like, everyone else is getting there, and then they're like, you need to be here. Like, they call her up, so we have to like race over there. Again, she's like kind of knocking some stuff over. She goes, but I'm like, you know, let's just stop the alcohol for a bit, and I'm sure it'll be fine. But yeah, so just the taxi gets there. Really annoying little side note, because I hate her friends a little bit for this. They're, you know, they're all talking there, and I'm like, yeah, we're having a fun time. And then they're like, oh, can you pay for this, Andrew? I don't think I have any money. And I'm like, I don't keep any cash on me. Oh, I think I might have had some money, but I was like, no, I'm not falling for your BS stuff like this. I'm not just gonna, you know, pay for your taxi because you want to. They're like, oh, okay, then I guess I'll pay. And then she just pulls out like a £10 note. It's like, you. And so yeah, that's what happened there. First of all, annoying friend, but then we're all like, you know, in the line together, like her 10 friends or whatever, and myself, and you know, we're keeping the conversation going some extent. She's like, oh yeah, this and that and that. And I'm like, oh yeah, isn't that kind of funny? I'm talking about the very little I know about the area. Again, trying to make this work. But then, as we get close to the door, she starts to get more and more loud. And it becomes, I guess, clear to the bouncer that that's that. But it's one of these places where you have to go in like one by one, pay some money, and then do that. So I go in first. Kind of a bad idea in recollection. And head straight to the bathroom, because again, I need to go. Because I've been drinking Jaeger bombs all night. And when I get to the place, I'm like, I don't know where she is. I assume she'd be somewhere around here. I remember her friends went into that big area, so I had to go search around a club for like 20 minutes. I'm like, I don't think she's here. So I enjoy like a few minutes of just you know, that's club music, right? And then I go outside and I'm like, oh, right, she didn't make it in because she's loud and drunk, and she's just out there like crying so very like much. And it's like, oh yeah, this isn't good. And then the bounce comes over to me and she's like, is that you, girl? And I'm like, I guess so at this point. And he's like, okay, just take her, you know, get some food, and she'll be fine. I'm like, okay, then, I'll trust you, Mr. Bouncer. So I take her, I'm like, it's gonna be okay. Mr. Bouncer over there, he said you can go in if you eat some food, you know. It's almost like having a child on the deck at this point, because she's at that level of, you know, somehow the drunk is just sinking in more and more and more. So she's like barely standing and, you know, crying like crazy, like emotional all over the place. But I'm like, again, I will make this happen. So we go on a nice walk around the place, to McDonald's. I'm like, oh, do you want anything? She's like, oh no, I'll do it. You can. And she buys me something ridiculous. Like, again, she's being nice enough there that I'm like, even though this is being awful, I'm trying my hardest here. So I tried to get us into, you know, another place in the way, and they're like, oh no, she's a bit too drunk. So I go back to the place, you know, like wait a little bit and then go to there, and I get, you know, even though she's like roughly trying to be sober, we tried to go, and she's like, wait a minute, I remember you. And I was like, oh yeah, but we got our food. He's like, no. So she starts just yelling at the bouncer. And at this point, I'm just like, what do we do at this point? We're not allowed into anywhere. You want to be with your friends more than you want to be with me at this point, because she's just yelling about how sad she is about the friends. And I'm like, you know what? I think we should call it a night here. And she's like, I guess so. And I'll be like, because I've got a train to catch in 6 or 7 hours, and I run away. And that is like the worst line I've ever given to someone. That's the sort of thing I'm like, I am just the worst person for saying that, because that's the sort of thing where you make it very clear that it's not just an incidental thing, it's a trying to get away from it. And I literally ran. I've you know, it's fight or flight. I'm with this person that's crying, yelling at bouncers, and, you know, getting, like, doing all that sort of stuff. I have to run, and needless to say, I haven't heard from her since. A part of me is still like, oh, maybe it's all okay, but I tried. It didn't click. I tried to make it click, and then she drank all the alcohol and started yelling at people, and I just decided that was done. So yeah, that was the worst date I'd ever been on, because I've never had it at that level where it's been like, oh yeah, so guess what? You're gonna have to. I'm gonna turn into a child for the night, and you're gonna have to escort me. And also, I've called you my boyfriend to everyone. And also, I'm gonna keep drinking your alcohol. I don't know. I was at a point where I was like, you know, I messed up here a lot, but you have messed up too. So I'm leaving. And that's what happened. maybe I am the awful person here. I really don't know. Is this one of those things where I am the arsehole? Like, you tell me. Am I the bad person? Did she mess up more? It's on you guys. It's on you. But yeah, thank you very much for watching this little thing. Oh wait, it just struck me. We didn't go to McDonald's. I think it might have been a Burger King, and I think, yeah, it was a Burger King, and I think I actually paid for her stuff because she wanted mozzarella sticks or something. And I'm like, oh, they don't really do that. I'll just get you this or something. Because McDonald's was something else. Just a tiny addition, because I'm realizing, like, back in my head, like, wait a minute, she owes me McDonald's still. And yeah. Anyway, point being, thank you very much for watching. Hopefully I'm not an arsehole. Goodbye.